Very good morning to all of you. I am Dr. VG Sadh from the Department of Humanities, IPS Academy Institute of Engineering and Science. Today we are going to discuss about communication skills. Every day, everywhere, we are talking too much about communication skills. We say that it is essential part of our life. Obviously, it is quite relevant in our professional, political, social and economic life. What is communication? Communication derived from a Latin word communicare, which means to share, to impart, or to make common. Whatever information we have, we share with other people. We communicate with other people. It is called communication. But you can say that I have these qualities. I talk to my friend, I talk to my mother, I talk to my father. I have very good communication. No. Obviously, it is a kind of communication, but you have to polish your communication. It is only possible when you polish it, you make more effective. So basically, when we talk about communication, there are different kind of roles we play in our life. For example, when we talk about communication, to give or receive information, this is the basic purpose of communication. To convey the right kind of message to the person, it is also a kind of communication. And the most important point that it is to provide advice. When you give advice to somebody, you have to be very careful and you have to use your communication very effectively. You can motivate people also. You can receive suggestions. When we talk about motivation, motivation is the essential or the imperative part of communication. You have heard several stories about motivating people. When you encourage people while your communication, you have heard stories about some mythological stories, just like stories of Hanumana, where the Jamwant encourage Hanuman that you have the power to cross this ocean. We can motivate people in the organization, in the institution, everywhere through proper communication skills. Next point is, it is essential for improving your morale. It is also connected with the motivation. When somebody is lacking morale, then you can enhance it by your fruitful words. It is also essential. Another role of communication is skill to motivate or improve discipline in the organization. When somebody is creating problems for the others in the organization, you can maintain the discipline, you can give the instruction, you can order, you can give some kind of punishment in the form of your words. Need not to snub, but you can console them, you can convince them, you can persuade them, you can make disciplinary actions by your communication skills. So sometimes it is quite essential how you are dealing your employee. Another role of communication is to impart education and training. Everywhere, right now, just like I am using oral communication, we can use teaching methods through communication skills. We use proper trainings in the particular manner. Another role is to issue warning and notices. It is a kind of written communication we use for in our communication basically. So when we talk about this communication, people think that it is a very easy process. No, it is a very complex and complicated process. Just like I am saying something, it looks very easy, but behind my communication, it is a complicated process. When I want to communicate something to others, first thing, I have to initiate my ideas. What I am going to say. That is called a message. First, I have to form a message, formulate a message with the help of proper structure, grammar, vocabulary. That is called encoding. Encoding means I have to think about the receiver also. I will have to think about the capacity and the caliber of the receiver. How he can receive it. Which kind of language he will receive. What are the basic norms he can follow while receiving the message. So that's why first thing is encoding. Whenever I encode my message in a proper way, then I choose the right kind of channel or the medium for communication. Basically, we use different kind of channels, just like verbal communication, non-verbal communication. In the verbal communication, we use written communication, oral communication. In the non-verbal communication, we use the gestures, posture, facial expressions, body language, appearance. All these channels we can use it. Face-to-face communication, telephonic communication, we use it for in a proper manner. So first is encoding, second is choosing right kind of channel. Then we send the message through the channel to the receiver. Now our part is over. Encoding, choosing right kind of channel and sending the message to the receiver. Now the receiver part starts. Receiver receives the message and he decodes the message. Earlier we were encoding the message, right now receiver decodes the message. He tried to interpret it. He tried to understand it. He tried to comprehend it. If he is able to understand, he also encode the message. Now it is his turn to give the proper response or proper feedback. He now become a sender. He encode the message in his own way. He chooses the right kind of channel and give feedback to the receiver. Person, now receiver receive the message and then again decode the message and give the feedback. So the entire process is going on and on and on. The communication process is always on when you are communicating with other people. Communication is a continuous process. You can't stop it. I am not saying anything, but I am saying so many things. My body language, my posture, my gesture always says so many things. So, in the entire process, the feedback is the most important part. Without feedback, we are not able to understand the message has been properly received or not. So, you know that it is a very complicated process. Anywhere, any point of time, the message can be distorted. You can choose the wrong message, you can choose the wrong channel, you can choose the wrong medium for the communication, or distortion starts, and then it is called a barrier to communication. So it is very essential that we have to understand about the process of communication. Where we are lacking? We are lacking in the channel, we are lacking at the message, we are lacking at our point also. Our criteria, we have to decide what kind of communication we are using. Suppose we are talking to a person who is a deaf. So we have to use non-verbal communication, because if you are saying something, he will not be able to understand anything. That's why you have to understand the capacity or caliber or the competence of a receiver. So that is called the process of communication. Now we have to discuss about some forms of communication. Just I discussed earlier this forms. First, we classify two forms of communication. First is verbal communication, and second one is non-verbal communication. Verbal communication consists oral communication and written communication. Basically, when we talk about oral communication, there are several kind of advantages. For example, just like I am using oral communication, I am speaking, I am using my oral communicative skills. So it is saving too much time. Instead of writing anything, I am using my oral communication. So it saves time. When we talk about the advantages, the first advantage is save time. Second is instant feedback. Without taking too much time, we can easily get feedback. Suppose I am asking question to the other people. They can easily respond. They can easily give the revert answer. So obviously, it is very easy to get the result within a second, within a minute of time. Second is promote better relation. This is the major advantage of oral communication. Right now, we are living in the world of marketing, where everyone is trying to convince other, trying to persuade other, and it is only possible if you use your right kind of oral communication. So we usually attend so many parties, we attend marriages, we organize meetings for right kind of communication skills. We develop our communication when we meet somebody, we discuss and we share our ideas. So promote better relation is the essential part of oral communication. Another thing is tool of persuasion. If I want to persuade somebody, I cannot write several things. I cannot motivate somebody by writing something. Suppose I am talking to my customer, so I will be more comfortable in oral communication instead of written communication, because I know that it will take lot of time and it is very difficult to convince. So another advantage is it is an effective tool of persuasion. And another point is it is very easy to measure effectiveness immediately. If you do not understand my point, your face can tell everything that you are unable to understand. So up to some extent we can easily measure what I am saying something and what you are getting it. So these are the basic advantages of oral communication. But there are lots of limitations are also there of oral communication. First thing is it is unsuitable for lengthy messages. You cannot discuss so many things on telephone. You cannot discuss several things on public speeches. So obviously up to some extent you have to be very careful for all these things. You cannot just like suppose you are giving instructions to somebody, so you have to give the written notes, because people will not be able to understand anything. Lengthy and complicated messages, it requires written communication. Second is short-lived. Oral communication do not have long life. Within a second, just like I am saying something and it disappears, vanished in my air. So it is do not have the long validity. Second is no legal validity. You cannot prove anything in the court, and justice always demand written document. Court always demand witness, always demand written notes. That's why if I am saying something, there is no use. I have to write it and give it. So there is no legal validity. Another is no assignment of responsibility. People usually do not work because they say, sir, please give in note, please give in the writing. Because they understand that if you are writing something, it will be authentic and it will become a proof. That's why you cannot assign any responsibility if you are saying something. Verbal communication, the most of the organizations, most of the government organizations, they avoid oral communication. They say we prefer written communication. Another is distortion in passing the message. This is another limitation of oral communication. You can make a mole of ill. And the problems can be complicated when you are sharing some information. Any point of time, the message can be distorted. So that's why you have to be very careful in using oral communication. Another thing is, it is also related with the possibility of misunderstanding. Because you are using oral communication, the message can be manipulated anytime. So misunderstanding can cause. Another is lack of documentation, because obviously we are using oral communication, so documentation is less, and right now we have to be very careful while using the documentation. Documentation is essential part of our organizations, any kind of organization, any institution work, it is essential. So these are the limitations of oral communication. Now we have to move towards the written part. When we talk about the written communication, there are several kind of written documents comes in our mind, just like letters, notices, agendas, handbooks, orders, complaint, contract, minutes, memorandums, circulars, manuals, reports, inquiries, quotations, forms. All these are essential part of any organization, any institution, any specific letter work or any government job. So these are the basic things that we have to understand. Every time we have to write a letter, sometimes we have to write a memo, sometimes we have to write a circulars, manuals, we have to write a report. A report is become a essential of our life. Every time we have to prepare a report and submit to the higher authorities. So you cannot deny or ignore the importance of written communication. You can say that, sir, I am using oral communication right now and it is more effective form of communication, but written communication still has the importance. Now, when we talk about the advantage of written communication, the first advantage is accuracy. First is accuracy. Accuracy means when you write something, you always think properly, because you get ample amount of time when you are writing something. You can edit it, review it, revise it several times before sending the message. That's why the message will always be accurate, because you have spent lot of time. So first thing is accuracy. Second is, a person who is receiving the message, a person who is receiving the letter, he can also read it in a better manner. He can easily understand it. Suppose he is not understanding properly, then he can read twice, thrice, or several times. So obviously when you are getting several opportunities to read the letter or written document, you can easily understand properly. So this is the major advantage of written communication. In the oral communication, I am just saying something and I will not repeat it. So you have to understand, or if you are not understanding, you have to ask me. So in the written communication, the advantage is that you can get better understanding. You can read a letter, you can read any document several times. Second, and the next is the permanent record. Written document is always become a permanent record. Nobody can manipulate it. Nobody can overwrite it. It will always become a permanent record. For example, for a student, a mark sheet or a degree is a permanent record. He can produce anywhere, everywhere for getting job. So it is a permanent record. Legal validity, when you are using a written communication, become a legal validity, and people usually prefer written notes, written documents. They always take everything in written form for right kind of legal validities. Another is assignment of responsibility. I told you earlier that when you are assigning something, when you are assigning some responsibility to others, they can ask you in a written format. Second is why. It is obviously because you know that very well that newspaper are quite effective form of communication, and it has a wide range. People you like it while reading a newspaper. They usually prefer reading newspaper instead of watching the TV or the TV news. So it is a wide range. And it is next point is always ready reference. You can use it anywhere, anytime with the help of any document. You keep as a reference. Most of the case studies we use for references. To some extent, suppose we are in the problem, we take the help of references. So we can use written communication for ready references. Another thing is image building. You can write in a better manner. Suppose you have a good writing skill, so you can develop your image in a proper manner. If you are a poet, so you can write your poetries, and if you are a writer, you can write fiction or a prose or the drama or novels, any kind of work you can write it, and you can develop your image. You can create your own image. So that is the most important. Some people do not have the oral communication skills, so they can very well, suppose they are very well in written part, so they can use develop their image while using communication, right kind of written communication. Another thing is you get lot of opportunities for developing substitution. You can revise it several times, and you can use different idioms and phrase, or you can use different kind of punctuations. You can use very stylistic style. You can make your writing more flowery in communication. So that's why these are some basic advantages of written communication. But some limitations are also there. As we know that first is the lack of spontaneity. There is no continuity. Suppose my friend is in Delhi or Mumbai or Madras or wherever. So if I am writing a letter, it takes lot of time. So obviously lack of spontaneity will not be there. Again, second part, time consuming. It takes lot of time. I have to write a letter and send it to the Delhi, and if he gets the proper mail, then he also send a message to me, and of times say 6 to 8 days. And in the oral communication, we just pick up the phone and just we can make a call, and that's all. So these are some problems that we have to face right now, because we are living in the age where time is the most precious thing, and we usually avoid all kind of written part. So another point is delayed feedback. Obviously, when you are not getting right kind of mail on the right time, so obviously you have to write very late, and then delayed feedback, because you are using written communication. You are not getting right kind of response from the other people. So it is kind of delayed feedback. Another is more expensive, obviously. When you are using written communication, you are using a paper or the printout, you are using printouts. And it is quite expensive. If you are, we always say that if you are using a page, it means that you are cutting a tree, one tree. So it is quite expensive. So instead of using a written communication, we usually prefer oral communication. Then a lot of paperwork we have discussed. Need expertise in expression. This is also limitation of written communication. If you do not have an idea about the grammar, proper idioms, phrases, punctuations, voices, tense, articles, so obviously you will not be able to write something. So many people have this kind of deficiency. They cannot write properly. They cannot write a single line in a proper manner. So obviously, if they are weak in the this kind of written part, so obviously they cannot express properly. So that's why they can use oral communication. And another last point is no immediate clarification. Obviously, we cannot get the instant feedback. We have to wait for a long time. That's why we always use oral communication for right kind of persuasion or motivation or encouragement, this kind of thing. Now next is when we talk about non-verbal communication. So for earlier we discussed that there are two forms of communication, verbal and non-verbal. In the verbal we have written and the oral part. And in the non-verbal we have the gestures, posture, facial expressions, body language. We need not to use any word. We need not to use any language. In the verbal, we usually prefer the language. But in the non-verbal, we do not use any language or the words. That is called non-verbal communication. Basically, when we talk about the non-verbal communication, we always use 738-55 rule. 738-55, what is 738-55 rule? 7% when I am saying something, 7% you are giving stress on my words. 7% you are giving stress only on my 7% words. Second, voice. 38% you are seeing my voice. You are seeing my articulation. You are seeing my pitch variation. Sometimes I increase the speed, sometimes I decrease it. So it is called the voice. And third one is the face. Face means the body language, the remaining part. Body language. Which kind of body language I am using for communication? I am using this kind of gestures, posture, facial expressions, body language. So 7% you are giving stress on my words, remaining 38% on my voice, means articulation of voice, and the remaining 55% you are seeing my body language, my gestures, posture, facial expressions. So words do not have lot of importance. Your body language is quite essential. How you carry yourself, which kind of gestures you are using it, postures you are using it, which kind of sign you are using for communication, it is quite essential. So when we talk about the non-verbal communication, you know that we use gestures, posture, facial expressions for right kind of communication. When we discuss about the importance, there are several importance of non-verbal communication, just like conveying ideas, effective in traffic control, convey information through symbols, and easy distance communication, easy expressions of feelings. All these are the basic importance of non-verbal communication. I think you have gone through this particular dance form, Kathakali. Kathakali is basically a dance form of Kerala, and in this dance form they show different rasas on their faces. They do not move too much. Because they use very heavy dress, and it weight around 4 to 5 kg, and it is very difficult to carry this particular dress, and you cannot move too much. That's why they use this face for communication. They, suppose you are angry, they can show their particular face, they can make particular face, or suppose they are happy, or all kind of rasas, Karun ras, Adbhut ras, Raudra ras, different kind of rasas they show only through the facial expressions. So you can communicate your facial expressions by particular forms. So you cannot say that I am unable to communicate properly through my body language or the facial expressions or the gesture or posture. It is all possible. So when we talk about the non-verbal communication, we always discuss about the components of non-verbal communication. First, like body language, then proxemics, this is called space language, time language, paralanguage, sign language, touch language, that is called haptics, and physical appearance. There are different forms are there. Just like verbal communication, we have a written in the oral. In the non-verbal, we have a proxemics, then we have a haptics, chronomics. There are different kind of forms. The one by one we will understand it. First is kinesics. Kinesics is basically a body language. I discussed earlier that just like in Kathakali we use our physical movements, just like facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, body shape, appearance, dress code, all comes under kinesics. Shrugging of shoulders, winking of eyes, or nodding of head, all these are gestures. Eye contact, body shape and posture, how I am standing, how I am sitting, all comes under posture. Appearance, how I carry myself, which kind of dress I am wearing, which kind of attire I am wearing, it also says so many things. You know very well that in USA, suppose you are going for a party, you can go in a jeans and t-shirt also. But in UK, you have to wear a proper tuxedo, because there is a dress code. You cannot visit any party in a formal forms. You have to use a specific dress code. So dress code, your facial expressions, your eye contact, your gestures, your shape, body shape, and appearance says so many things. That is called kinesics. Second part is paralanguage. What is paralanguage? Paralanguage means, para means like, and language means a vehicle of communication. It is just like a language, but it is not a language. It is like a language, but it is not a language. That is called paralanguage. What is paralanguage? Voice, pitch variation, high pitch, low pitch, high pitch and low pitch, speaking speed. Sometime we can use, we can increase the speed, or sometime we can decrease the speed. Pauses, lots of pauses. It says so many things. If you are taking pause, it means that you are thinking and you want to say something different. Volume variation, high volume, low volume, increase in the volume, decrease in the volume. It says so many things. Pronunciation, right kind of pronunciation, or word stress. Word stress. Suppose in the written communication we can use punctuations. We can highlight something, just like we can use a bold. In a MS Office, we usually prefer bold for specific stress. But in the oral communication, we have to use word, we have to give stress on a particular word. Particular word. I am giving stress on word. Voice. Pitch variation. So obviously, it is called paralanguage. It is just like a language, but it is not a language. But when you are using this kind of paralanguage, people can easily understand that what you are going to say. Sometimes you increase the speed and decrease the speed. Sometimes you pitch, you can go on the high pitch or the low pitch, or you can take pauses for making your communication more effective, or giving some kind of suggestions or some kind of message to the other people. So this is called paralanguage. Next is proxemics. Proxemics is the study of how we communicate with the space around us. It's called proximity. When we use space, most of the times we use space. You can say that how we can use space means the area we are using it. For example, suppose we are in the public, we always maintain the distance 12 to 25 feet. You always have to maintain this particular distance. Social distance 4 to 12 feet. Right now we are in the pandemic situation and everyone is saying that you have to maintain the social distance. Social distance is 4 to 12 feet. If you want to away from any kind of virus, you have to be away at least 4 to 12 feet from a person. Personal distance. Personal distance means 18 inch to 4 feet. You have to maintain it. And intimate distance 18 inch. If you are talking to your friend, he is very, very intimate friend. So obviously you can maintain your distance in up to the 18 inches. You can just put it your hands in the shoulder and you can just discuss it. So obviously it shows the intimacy. You're talking to your teacher. It comes under social distance. You cannot come closer and talk. You have to maintain the distance. You always have to maintain the distance. You are talking to a society person, or you are talking to your relatives. Obviously you have to maintain the particular distance. Personal distance means mother, father, brother, sisters. It comes under personal distance. You can just sit closer. You can talk to them in a very proper or the cozy manner. It comes under personal distance. So there are different distances that we have to maintain it. It is called how we use the space around us. That is called proximity. Next is sign languages, symbols. Suppose I am hungry, so I have to use this kind of sign. I am hungry to eat something. This kind of sign we have to use for right kind of communication. Suppose I do not know anything. I do not know anything. This is kind of a gesture I am using it. Sign I am using it. Suppose I want money. How much money? Then I have to use this kind of thing. Thumb and finger, I have to use this kind of thing. How much money? And suppose I want to say little. So I say little bit. I want little. So it gives some ideas. Your sign, your symbols give lot of ideas. You can say, you need not to say anything. You know, suppose you are quite fed up with your classroom and in class, so you can just always watch this particular thing. You will watch your watch, and then it shows many things. Teacher can easily understand that this person is not interested, this student is not interested in class, and the time is over. I think time is over. So that's why you have to use this kind of communication. So need not to say so many things. You need not to use the written communication, oral communication. Verbal communication is always a very effective form of communication. Without saying anything, you say so many things. So sign languages and symbols. The most important is haptics, touch. Basically, we use handshake, holding hands, and sometimes we hug somebody. It is a kind of touch we use for communication. When we talk about the type of touches, there are different kind of touches. 18 different meanings are there. But now we are discussing about some different kind of touches, just like positive effect touch. He is crying, and mother comes, and then he pick up, and then the baby stops crying. It is a kind of positive effect touch. When you visit a doctor, doctors just touch you. He try to heal you, and most of the pains gone. There is a therapy named Reiki. In the Reiki, we usually heal people by touch therapy. Most of the deficiencies, most of the diseases can be removed or eradicated or healed by particular touch therapy. Positive effect touches. Second is playful touches. When you are playing something, suppose you are sitting in the classroom and you are using playful touch, you just touch everyone. This is called playful touch. Control touch. When somebody is trying to say something and you just stop. You just try to his hand in his and then sometime you tap the back. Okay, don't ask question. It is not the right time. It is not the right time to ask question. Control touch. Second is ritualistic touch. When you are in the marriage or right kind of any kind of rituals following, then you can use this kind of ritualistic touches. Greeting, when you are meeting somebody, or you shake hands, or you touch hands, or you sometimes hug, sometimes you kiss. So this kind of greetings usually we prefer in different countries and different forms. That is called greeting touches. Next is a departure. This is also departure greeting. Departure is also kind of same thing. And hybrid touches. There are some touches that are hybrid. That people, you have to understand what kind of communication you are taking it, what kind of meaning you are taking it. It is called hybrid touch. Related touch, just suppose you are doing any kind of task, so you can also use this kind of touch. And accidental touches, there are some accidental touches also there. Accidentally you are touching somebody and then you can excuse for this thing, and they just say okay, no problem at all. So these are the basic touches that we use in haptics, that we can say in our communication we use it. So basically when we talk about the communication is a very vast field. You cannot consist in a very few things. You can say that I am using very good communication, but communication is a very difficult part. There is a semantic barriers are also there. There are some psychological barriers are there. Some physical barriers are also there. You have to understand the barriers, where we are lacking, how we are unable to reach to that particular level. So that's why you have to understand proper to communication. When we talk about the barriers, we have a semantic barrier. In the semantic barrier, some words do not have the meaning what we are saying. Words have multiple meanings. For example, one word run has one meaning. Which kind of run you are using it? So obviously meaning is always in the mind. not in the words. Which kind of meaning you are taking, that is called semantic barrier. Physical barrier, psychological barrier. There are different kind of barriers we use for communication. Understand it, we have to eradicate it and then make our communication more effective. So when we talk about communication, communication is imperative in our life, imperative part of our life. You can make your life more successful, more better by using right kind of communication. You can become a leader, you can become a successful personality by using right kind of communication. So I hope that you like this lecture. I hope that you will use communication techniques or the tricks for the particular part, and you will try to polish your communication skill. You will try to polish your oratory skills. You will try to polish or enhance your written part, written communication also, because everything is important in every part. Up to some extent written communication is also important, or up to some extent oral communication is also important, and non-verbal, obviously it is also important in our life. So it is an amalgamation of verbal and the non-verbal communication. You cannot say that it is not important, it is important. Everything is important. So how we use it, how we utilize, how we make our communication verbal or the non-verbal, it depends on you. So that's all for me. I hope that you will understand it. Thank you very much.